We're good.
Welcome back, everyone, to episode 11, right, Hereth?
Yep, episode 11, season 2.
Episode 11, season 2, episode 1 of the They Fly Now Show podcast. Thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate it. And today we're going to be talking about my favorite thing in Star Wars, the Ghost Crew, and basically just everything Rebels. So thank you all for joining us, and They Fly Now.
They fly now! They fly now!
Transition. Oh, I need to grab Scholar's like.
Oh. All right. We good to go?
We're good to go.
Okay. All right. Thank you guys both for joining us, Brooke and Scholar. I know Brooke has already been on, and Scholar, this is your first time. So if you guys just want to introduce yourself a little bit, Brooke, if you want to go first.
Hi. My name is Brooke. You can find me on the internet, the interwebs, usually as B Dazzler, TikTok, and Twitch mostly, and Twitter, all that other stuff. But yeah, I love Rebels, and I'm very excited to talk about it.
Yes. Also, go check out Brooke's Etsy shop at Far Far Away Factory. It's amazing, and she makes a bunch of cool stuff.
Absolutely incredible.
Including that hoodie. Yes. And her live streams are awesome. She streams Fallen Order, and Fallen Order is a great game that I just started playing because of her. So thank you for joining us. And Scholar, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So, hello everyone. I'm called Scholar in this community. I go by Master Euro and other things. Unlike a lot of other people coming to the show, I don't make content except for the occasional Twitch stream, which you can find on Master Euro. But yeah, Star Wars Rebels is probably my favorite animated show, and I'm very excited to talk about it.
Yes, Rebels is awesome.
Rebels is awesome.
Rebels is awesome. Also, shout out to Scholar because he is over in Ireland, right, Scholar?
Yeah.
Or are you UK?
The island of Ireland.
Yeah, you're Ireland, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In
So
the UK,
it's
the island of Ireland, yeah.
It's like 3 a.m.,
So
right?
one in
Or
the morning.
It's 1 a.m. It's alright.
Yeah. So
It's fairly reasonable. Fine.
We appreciate it because I know that's kind of a grind. It's only 8 o'clock for me. Hereth, it's like 5 o'clock, which is not bad at all. But
And it's still light out there.
Telling you, I would be awake anyway. So,
it's about to the sun's about to go down for
No,
Hereth
it's
and it's
very
about to
dark.
rise for
Dark.
Scholar. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us. And before we talk about Rebels, we're just gonna kind of have an open floor discussion about Visions because obviously Visions just released and I loved it. I know Scholar, you
Same.
said you've seen the first episode, right?
I was
Right,
going
Scholar?
to, but other stuff got me.
Okay.
Because I'm a fake fan. I'm a fake fan.
No fake fan here, but yeah. Visions was awesome. What was each of your guys' favorite episodes? I'm curious. I know me and Hereth kind of already talked about this. What about you, Brooke? What's your favorite?
I really liked all of it. There wasn't anything that I really heavily disliked, but I have to say the Ninth Jedi is hands down my favorite out of all of them. It was so good. It gave me like the warm and fuzzies that I get when I watch like the original trilogy and other like The Mandalorian and things like that. So I really loved that about it. I would say the Duel is probably up there as well. Those are probably my favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're big Ninth Jedi stands over here.
It was
Yes.
so good.
To me, it felt like Scholar. Do you care about spoilers at all?
I think we can answer on
No, go
spoilers.
ahead. I don't mind.
Okay. That episode feels like High Republic Jedi, but post sequel era. I don't know if you felt that at all. I like for some reason it just really made me feel like I was in the High Republic, but like not, if that makes any sense. And also it had like a good amount of like comedic relief with like those little I don't even know what kind of droids you would call those, like the guy who drove the little ship.
Oh yeah.
So like a little bit of comedic relief there, and then huge plot twist at the end, which I don't know.
I loved it.
I thought it was amazing.
They did the suspense really well with that one. Like I don't know. I guess I didn't expect. I don't know. I came into Visions with like not low expectations, just kind of like no expectations. I was just excited about it. So I was like, maybe these episodes are just going to be really fun kinds of things. And then that one, so I wasn't like prepared to like theorize like, oh, is this guy like, is he sketchy? He's got like glowing red eyes, which is kind of like Sithy, but not. So I didn't really think about it. And then like when you get the big reveal of all of the Jedi that were in there, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. It was so good. And Kara and her little droid, I think 49's is his name. They are everything to me. I love them so much.
Yeah, they're so good. Obviously, since we have...
I know is there merch? Oops, sorry.
Oh, no. I would say... no, you go. I was going to say something else completely entirely different about Visions.
Okay. I was going to say... are they making merch for the Ninth Jedi? Because I know they're making merch for a lot of them.
I hope so. I really hope so.
Because I saw a few like shirts and stuff. Brooke, you should make some Visions.
You know what? You're onto something. I know. I was talking to Cal4 on his Twitch stream the other night, and he was like, he's been talking about wanting to get something painted from me. And he was like, I like Star Wars and I like anime, but now I can do both. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
Cal and some custom Visions.
So I don't know, that'd be pretty cool.
I know.
Yeah.
I was thinking about getting a custom pair of Rebels Vans. I might maybe ordering. But yeah, and one interesting fact, I was going to say this off stream, but did you know that the duel takes place like 3,000 years before Phantom Menace?
Really?
Is it? Oh, that's cool.
Yes, and I didn't know that, and I was kind of confused because like the stormtroopers' helmets, I guess, like it looked like it was the Empire, but I forget what the studio was, but they came out and said to IGN, I think, that it happens 3,000 years before. Actually, let me try to bring up this article.
Well, I guess that's like the kind of the good thing that comes out of Star Wars Visions not being canon is that the studios got so much creative freedom to kind of do whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
Because
Yes,
I loved the design of the characters in the duel. It was hard for me to get used to at first, just because like I'm not I like older stuff, like, but it's just harder for me when you're so used to watching something like high def to go back to like black and white things. And I like that it was kind of a nice change with like the color additions in there. But I loved how they had each of the stormtroopers had like different hats or different like styles. Yeah. And it reminded me a lot of the clones, how they stylized their own armor, which I really liked. And then the little droid with the hat. Point. Yeah.
Do you mean the Japanese chopper? Because that droid is like a killer. So, according to I can't find the source. So the episode 1 takes place in an era called the 100-Year Darkness. That's what they refer to it as. 1,000 years before the Phantom Menace, and that it's supposed to like lead to the formation of the Sith kind of thing.
That's cool.
So the duel takes. I'll just go through every
similar
episode
time to the Old Republic, then? Similar time frame?
I think maybe a little bit after the Old Republic. I'm not sure because I don't know if it just says it says thousands of years, so it could have been like
Oh, so it could be way before that too.
5,000 years. Yeah.
Well, because when you were describing visions, there
yes,
were like
it's
20,000 years of history, so it could easily be that far
That
back.
must have been the 20,000. Yeah.
I feel like a
That
lot of
must
the
have been the-
episodes could fit like anywhere on the timeline, other than the ones that were specifically talking about the Empire. Because I feel like the other ones, and then other than like Tatooine Rhapsody, because we have to know that happens between 3 and 4. But
Yeah.
most of the other ones you could kind of
Yeah.
like plop anywhere.
Yeah, and this one kind of surprised me. The twins is supposed to take place after Rise of Skywalker.
Really?
Interesting.
Yeah, and that I thought that was like for sure Empire, like they were supposed to be leading the Empire, and apparently not. So that one surprised me. Village Bride was apparently during the Clone Wars, which makes sense because of the references. The Ninth Jedi is supposed to take place after Rise of Skywalker. I think that one's kind of self-explanatory too.
Yeah.
TOB1 takes place between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, which I guess because like the Master gets taken away and killed.
Yeah.
The Elder takes place sometime before the Phantom Menace.
Ooh, I hope it's
They
High
didn't
Republic.
really give. Yeah,
That's where I
That
would put it at least.
Definitely.
yeah. Wouldn't we all? But that's what Masha Kochi Otsu told IGN. La Pinocho supposed to take place in between episodes 3 and 4.
That makes sense.
Again, I guess that makes sense because whatever. And then Akari is supposed to take place 4 years before A New Hope.
Interesting.
So, yeah, that's interesting. There's a few of them that definitely surprised me, like Twins. I did not think was a post Return of the Jedi or post Rise of Skywalker short. If you had to, Brooke, if you had to give your top 3, what would you say? And then why, for all the viewers who haven't seen it, why would you recommend Star Wars Visions?
Okay. I would say The Ninth Jedi, number 1 for sure. I would put The Duel at number 2. And then 3 is hard because there were a lot that I liked a lot. And part of me doesn't want to say The Elder because I felt like, and I know that they talked about this on Dyad and the Force last weekend, that The Elder felt like the most safe of the episodes because since it's not canon and they didn't have to like specifically pick any sort of timeline, they could literally just go nuts. It felt kind of
Like the
safe
twins.
it kind of felt a little safe, but I still really liked it. I liked the story. I love like the Master and Apprentice. It reminded me so much of that book too. Like it just gave me that vibe. So I really liked that. Lop and Ocho I liked, but I didn't like the ending because it just like ended on a cliffhanger and I want more of it. But I'm hoping this is leading to some sort of series or like a part 2 or something that would make me happy. But I would definitely recommend Visions to everyone. This personally, I've not watched a lot of anime. I've watched some. I've never really had like a strong feeling for or against it. I really like it. I really liked Visions though. I think if you don't like anime, I would say still try to give it a chance because anime is it's just a genre. It's just like a medium of storytelling. It's not supposed to fit in any sort of box. Even the animation styles are so different from one to the other. Yeah. I feel like that's a big maybe misconception of anime, maybe just because of like how the fandom is and how the fan base is. Sometimes it can kind of put people off, just like the Star Wars fandom can put people off of that stuff. It can happen really in any fandom, but I think anime is a little intimidating to get into because there's so many. And it's like, I don't know where to start. Like, which one should I watch? Should I watch one of the popular ones or one of the older ones or whatever? If you like anime, I think you're gonna like this. The stories are so different that I think you can find at least one that you're gonna enjoy, if you're not sure about them. And then I would say, you don't have to like all of them. I think that's fine, but I would definitely give it a chance. Yeah. And if you're not into it, you're not into it. But I wouldn't write it off right away.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely some in there that I know I necessarily wasn't the biggest fan of. Like, for example, I personally didn't like the twins very much. I felt like they kind of went too overboard. Like, whenever the studio probably heard they wasn't canon, they're like, okay. And then everything that wasn't canon in that. But yeah, definitely, if you haven't watched it, for sure go watch it. Handing
also,
out you, Scholar, to go watch Visions.
Give Tatooine Rhapsody a chance, because I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, it was bad. It was bad." It's so fun. It's so fun. It literally embodies what Star Wars Visions is like supposed to be. It's just a fun episode, and you get to see like characters that you recognize. So I think that's cool. If you go in with like zero expectations, you're gonna come out and be like, "That was so cute."
I agree.
I want to put that in there.
That's what I really liked.
Yeah.
I really liked Tatooine Rhapsody.
Yeah.
I just thought, like, not all Star Wars has to be about something super serious.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I was actually thinking about this because I keep seeing a lot of complaints about, oh, well, this doesn't make sense, or this doesn't make sense. And I saw a tweet today about Rey using the Force against Kylo's lightsaber in Rise of Skywalker, and how that was like, didn't make sense. And I'm like, okay, first of all, it just looked cool. Second, adult Star Wars fans, I feel like adult Star Wars fans just sometimes try to take things too seriously. And like, we forget what it's like to enjoy something as a kid. And these are what these movies are for. They're for families, they're for everyone, but the target audience are children. And you just gotta like not take it so seriously sometimes. Like I kept seeing people complaining about how in the twins they weren't wearing helmets. I'm like, how do you not wear helmets in space? Mm-hmm. And then I saw someone who was like, and then they put this helmet on the robot, and I was like, that's the joke. Like, don't take it too hard. That's literally the joke. And if you just not think about it, it's not gonna bother you.
That's the Star Wars fandom in a nutshell.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're like, this is something, it's not even canon. It doesn't have any rules to follow, zero, besides be in Star Wars, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, people will find things to complain about, because that is the Star Wars fan base in a nutshell for you. But do you guys have any last thoughts on Visions?
For the most part, no.
All right. What were you saying? Sorry.
I have no thoughts.
Head empty.
What are you saying, Hereth?
Oh, no, I was going to say... actually, I was actually going to highlight this comment from X-Core, because I think she found it interesting. He... I don't know, you guys can see my screen. I shared an OBS. He goes, Yoda already used the Force against lightsabers in canon. Under George Lucas, this does not break the lore. Which I think it's an interesting comparison, because we literally see that in the prequel trilogy, but no one complains about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It just makes no sense. Like, we're literally in a universe with the Force that you can move things without touching it, and you're complaining that whatever. Stupid. People are stupid. But
some people
quickly before we...
Let's cross.
Yep. But... quickly before we get into the main part of the section, which we'll be talking about the Ghost Crew and Rebels, shout out to some people in the chat. We got Luke from the Pods One podcast. If you guys don't already, go check them out. They are a great show, which me and Hereth are actually going to be on Thursday. We are going to be on the Pods One podcast talking about a few episodes in season 1 of the Clone Wars. Shout out to Brian with the beard. He's everywhere. Brian's awesome. Shout out to Kieran. Shout out to X-Core Gamer Skills, who has his own podcast, Conspiracy Cantina. which is an awesome show that's on every other Tuesday, right? And
Yeah.
I think it's this Tuesday. I could be wrong, but you guys should totally go check them out. They're awesome. So yeah, let's get right into it.
Yeah.
Rebels, there's a lot to cover, so we're just gonna kind of just talk about each season, each character's kind of main highlighted, I guess you could say, section. Again, we're gonna try to make this just as conversation as possible. So if like a moment dies, then we'll just ask another question. But while you guys were watching Rebels for the first time, what was your guys' first impression on the Ghost Crew and on Ezra, who was just kind of like a scavenger at the time? Let's just start with Scholar, since Brooke watched Visions.
So, the first time I watched Rebels was right after I finished watching Clone Wars, so I had an empty feeling inside of me of losing one found family, so I wanted to get into the show with another family. And from the first episode, I really got the sense that it was going to focus more on Ezra and Kanan's relationship. Like, I felt like Hera, Sabine, and Zeb were kind of just there to fill space at that point. But and they all kind of filled archetypal roles. Like, Hera was the headstrong pilot leader, the one who was grounded in the group. Zeb was just the muscle. And to be fair, Sabine, she was Mandalorian. She was always going to stick out. She was always going to be interesting. But Ezra, from the get-off, like, he's this bratty kid. He steals things. He tricks people so he can get stuff, food to survive. And I know that the show got a lot of criticism for that. It was like, oh, another bratty kid character that's unlikable. But there is an element of charm to it, because the rest of the Ghost Crew don't really just treat him like that. They say, like, oh, this kid has potential. Like, we could take him in. He could do good. And I think through the series, or at least through the first season, really see how Ezra goes from caring about no one to having a family to care about, and he's willing to go after that family and save them.
Yeah, definitely. And Brooke?
I will say I liked Rebels from the beginning more than I liked Clone Wars from the beginning. I feel like that's probably not an unpopular opinion, but I know not everyone is crazy about the first season of Rebels, but I feel like it doesn't get the credit it deserves for setting up all of the characters and setting up so many different, like, plot points and doing a decent amount of character development just in that first season. I would say more so than anything that happened in the Clone Wars in the beginning. You could tell, I guess, from the Ghost Crew from the beginning, everyone had kind of their, like, tropey kind of roles as far as, like, heist group goes, you know what I mean? You've got, like, the brains and the brawn and then the pilot, and I liked that aspect of it. I thought it was kind of fun. I really like Ezra overall. He is meant to be kind of annoying and like a immature kid in the beginning, which is like it didn't bother me. It wasn't like, oh my god, I can't stand this guy. And I watched Rebels for the first time, I believe it was like the end of last year, the beginning of this year, like time frame. And since then I've watched it all the way through another time, and I'll watch it here and there. Ezra gave me, and I was watching some of the first episode today because I was like, I don't even remember what happened in season 1, to be honest. Ezra gave me, especially now rewatching it, Ezra gave me like major Aladdin vibes, which is funny because the live action actor is like rumored to play Ezra, but I think that was probably intentional. Like, even the way that the kind of like the streets on Lothal were set up was very similar to at least the animated Disney movie. And he was just like a kid who didn't have his parents anymore and had to like steal to survive, and at least I think that's the vibe that they were going for. But
I feel like it definitely is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I-
for sure.
During the like first montage when Ezra's like stealing the food, you could just play like one jump ahead of the president.
Oh my god, yeah.
Oh my god.
He definitely feels like Space Aladdin. At least then. Whenever people say Ezra in general is Space Aladdin, no, because he grows out of that. But
Yeah.
definitely in the first episode and until he gets saved, so whenever he gets captured and then they save him, then I would say he starts to bridge and we definitely start to see some character development with him. And Hereth, what's your opinion on this also?
So, again, yes, when was the first time I watched Rebels? So I actually have a weird introduction to Rebels. So I remember it was about like 2015, 2014. I was flipping through channels, as you do as a 12-year-old, 13-year-old. You're flipping through your channel. I was flipping through channels, and I actually didn't land on Rebels Season 1. I actually landed on Twilight of the Apprentice. That was the first ever episodes of Rebels I watched. And I was like, what the hell?
What a great start.
And I was like, I'm so interested in what the hell the series is going to go with. So
That's
I
probably the
watched...
most pressing part you can.
Oh, sorry, I didn't cut you off. Sorry. So, yeah.
I think you're just saying it's
No, I'm saying that's probably the most depressing start you get.
Yeah. So I was looking through the channel and I watched it and I was like, what the hell is this? So I go onto Netflix and I watch all of Clone Wars all the way through so I can understand like all the backstory with like, Ahsoka and everything. Then I went back and watched Rebel Season 1 when it came on Disney
Really?
Plus. Yeah. So I watched
Yeah.
the first ever episode of Rebels I ever watched was Twilight of the Apprentice.
Huh.
That was
Well,
our first introduction to the Ghost Crew.
That'll do it.
That's just kind of throwing you into the wolves. It's like the other week I was with my girlfriend, and I don't know why, but for some reason I just threw on Jedi Knight, and I don't know why, but I instantly started bawling, and she's like, "Why are you crying? It's just a cartoon character." It's like, it's more than a cartoon.
Oh man.
Oh my god.
But I know I started watching. So I finished Clone Wars. It's probably actually around this time last year. And I was like, okay, it's like I'll give Rebels a shot because I was like back then I wasn't the best fan probably. I was like, oh, I guess I'll give it a shot. And I watched the first episode. I was like, oh, this is really interesting. And then it kind of tumbled from there. But also, I want to show off this really quick. I have to.
Is your Ezra Funko Pop?
I have.
Yes.
Yeah, let's go.
And Sabine
Shirt
now.
on.
Yay.
I traded for Sabine yesterday. And shout out to Brian with the beard for the Ezra Pop. I had to, sorry.
That's
It
awesome.
is like my greatest. It is my greatest accomplishment.
I have Ahsoka, and I really want the Rex one, but I haven't been able to find it. That's not like $80.
The Rex one, really?
Yeah, I've been
'Cause
looking on
I-
Mercari and stuff, but
I would go to a Comic-Con because I've seen at both the Comic-Cons I went to for 30,
that's not
I
bad.
think, because
Okay.
I could have.
I'm going to
Yeah.
I'm going to Baltimore Comic Con at the end of the month, at the end of October, so hopefully it's there.
Okay. Yeah, I would guess it would be. It's been at both the ones because I went to Pittsburgh and I just went to West Virginia Comic-Con, which was an interesting one. But I traded for Sabine, and they had the Rex one, and then they had the Ahsoka one for like $100, and I was like,
Dang, I got my Ahsoka for like 40
Wow.
somehow.
really?
Yeah, I got that one for
That's
a
not
steal.
bad.
Yeah, I got lucky.
Huh. Yeah, that is actually pretty lucky. Luke Pods One Podcast in the chat says I didn't get into Rebels right away until I heard Vader was in it.
Why am I not
That's
surprised?
hilarious.
How do you guys feel about that? Because I was thinking about it. I kind of so I feel like it's kind of controversial whether or not you like. A lot of people want Vader in it just because it's Vader and he's so cool, like in different Star Wars things. And I think there are places where he helps the story, and then other places where he doesn't help the story. Like I loved him in Rebels. I thought it was a good addition, especially for like the target audience they were trying to reach with the show.
Yeah.
Coming off of Clone Wars too, especially. Like we just, had Anakin in the Clone Wars. You got to have Vader at least a few times in Rebels. But then something like Bad Batch, I hope we don't see him because I don't think that he's necessary.
I 100%
You know what I
agree.
mean?
I agree. Yeah, we don't need a Vader Rogue One scene with the Bad Batch. I just think it'd be a stupid way to end it off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do feel like the Twilight of the Apprentice Vader scene.
Stupid.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, but I do feel like the Twilight of the Apprentice Vader was just like, did he need to be there? Probably not. But he still was, and it was sick. But yeah, we need Vader, but not everything.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I would concur on that.
Ask the next question.
So, also, you sound like a robot. I put it in the chat. So,
Yeah. I was hoping it wasn't just me that was hearing that.
no. Okay, so, obviously with season 1, we have the whole dynamic of Ezra showing up into the full wave of the Ghost crew, Kanan figuring out he's force sensitive, and that whole dynamic. And then basically the rest of the series, but mainly season 1, is basically Kanan's journey with training Ezra to becoming a Jedi. So I was going to ask, since a lot of people love Kanan Jarrus and I think he's like the perfect Jedi, I was going to ask, what are you guys' thoughts on how Kanan Jarrus like begins to kind of train Ezra to become a Jedi? Okay. Guess I'll hit.
If there's any moments that stick out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brooke, if you want to go first.
Kanan is one of my favorite Jedi, I think. Especially at the point of Rebels. He's not like in the Jedi Order, but he still embodies, I think, what it means to be a Jedi without having to follow that like strict code of ethics, I guess, that the Jedi always hope for. And I think it probably I think it kind of stems from him being so young, and he was still a Padawan. He was only 12 or 13 years old at Order 66. So he probably didn't get that maturity out of his teaching, like his training, that he normally would. So I guess, of course, I'm sure in the, when you're a Padawan or when you're a youngling, they teach you kind of like, here are the general guidelines for being a Jedi, like attachment stuff. But I feel like it doesn't really become something that you do in practice until you are under a master and you're going on missions and things. So I think it almost helped him to not go through that, because there aren't a lot of Jedi Masters that we've seen in canon, at least, that teach that kind of thinking and teach it well. Because we see Anakin, struggle with attachment. We see other characters that haven't really had the best attachment relationship with that. So I kind of like that he kind of keeps a balanced way of him where he still, the Force is very important to him and his connection to it, especially like after meeting Ezra. I think he gets back in tune with his connection to the Force. But he's still, I feel like it's not his number one defining trait at the same time. It's like, oh, you have a lightsaber. Oh my God, you're a Jedi. But since we didn't meet him as a Jedi first, we kind of got more of him as a person. And then we get him as a Jedi later, if that makes sense. Anyway, I could ramble on about Kanan forever because I really like his character. But that's just the vibe I got. I really like their relationship with Ezra. I think he needs a little bit of like wrangling in, and Kanan does a pretty good job at that. But also, they kind of remind me a little bit of like Anakin and Obi-Wan, but more healthy of a relationship, I guess you could say.
Yeah, that's a way to put it.
Because they both kind of like give and take from each other, and they both kind of do ridiculous stuff sometimes, but it's a little bit less of like a, I don't know if that makes sense, what the kind of vibe I'm getting, because it's still kind of like a brotherly vibe. I don't really see it as like a father figure kind of thing with Ezra and Kanan, but it's not in the way that, like, I think maybe Ezra maybe is just a little bit more mature in his emotions, even though he's like an immature kid, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That his relationship with Kanan works better than we saw like Anakin and Obi-Wan's relationship.
I think one thing that's interesting is, like, yes, Kanan teaches Ezra, but Ezra also teaches Kanan a bunch of lessons. I'm not saying, like, example, I know we're not there yet, but in season 3 in Trials of the Darksaber, I guess that's more Sabine, but like Kanan's still learning and you see flaws in him and he's able to grow with it. As with, I think there's a lot of other Jedi who necessarily aren't able to grow, and like they're not like willing to admit that they're wrong sometimes, and Kanan does that really well. And same question to you, Scholar.
So the build off what Brooke was saying there, but the kind of parallel between Obi-Wan and Anakin is like the two relationships have very different beginnings, because Obi-Wan
I guess the robot virus isn't getting everybody now.
Because
Hold on, Scholar. You sound like a robot, unfortunately. Like I did, I think. Try just unplugging your mic and plugging it back in. Yeah, just do that and then you should be fine.
I plugged in I wasn't using a mic.
There you go.
Is that better?
You're good now.
Better.
You're good now. As you were saying.
Okay, so I'll start from the beginning again. So to build on what Brooke was saying there, about the parallels between Kanan, Ezra, and Obi-Wan and Anakin, like Obi-Wan only becomes Anakin's master because he promised Qui-Gon. It's not initially because he cares for Anakin. Obviously, over time, he does begin to care for him. But I think with Kanan and Ezra from the beginning, Kanan did have this sense of care because he saw himself in Ezra. After Order 66 happens, he was in that exact same position of being alone, Force-sensitive kid, trying to survive by himself in the world. And Kanan's not ready to be master. He's still technically a Padawan on stage. He never finished his training, but he doesn't want Ezra to go through the same things he did and be alone like that. So he wants to try and bring him into this family. And you're completely right, they learn from each other, which is pivotal, and that's why I also think they're definitely more like a brother, older brother kind of relationship compared to father-son, because Ezra already had a father, he had a father figure. And I think he got, like, his father got him through a part of his life, but at that stage when he met the Ghost Crew, he needed a brother figure to kind of guide him more in the right direction.
No, yeah, definitely. And like you were saying, I thought that was a really good point you brought up, that Obi-Wan's, it's a promise to train Anakin. Anakin didn't even know that Ahsoka was going to be his Padawan. And then Kanan, on the other hand, kind of chose, like you were saying, and like felt whenever he was ready that he wanted to train Ezra, not because he was forced to, but because he wanted to.
Which I agree, Carter. Yeah. That's a really interesting Scholar brought up a really interesting point there of like, because like in general, if you think about Star Wars like masters in general, like you said, they usually get it like thrusted upon them. Like there's only a couple rare cases where you see like where these like master apprentices have a really like careful bond. We see that a lot in the High Republic, but like the general like saga overall, we don't really see that much.
Yeah, I know we see a little bit. I just got finished reading Dooku Jedi Lost, and it kind of goes over how they pick their Padawan, and it's really just like, I don't know, it's just kind of weird. Like they're in like a tournament, and then the master just picks the Padawan with whoever they feel most connected to. I just feel like it's not the best way to do it.
I'm not gonna lie, it sounds a lot like getting a big like the big little sister thing in sororities or big little brother in fraternities.
I mean, you're
That's
not
what
wrong.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I mean,
Yeah, if
it
you have
does
to, like,
kind of make
impress
sense.
them.
Yeah, it does kind of make sense that like you would kind of try to find a good match, but the more you get to know someone, it might not always pan out the way that you want to.
Yeah. And, like, yeah, they have the Force guiding them, but it's just like, I don't know, it's kind of weird. But with Kanan and Ezra, it's natural. It's like basically 100% natural. There's no one capturing the kids and bringing them in. It's Kanan felt that Ezra was just the right person for him to train, which makes it really healthy.
It's like the Force brought them together.
Yeah. Exactly.
Who would have
actually.
thought?
The Force did.
The Force, no. The Force doesn't control anything, guys. Come on.
And then, to kind of wrap up season 1, what episodes and what moments really stood out to you guys in season 1? Brooke, if you want to go first.
Season 1 is like hard to remember because it all kind of blends together for me. Highlights though, was one of the Lando episodes in the first season.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. I remember really liking that episode because I think with like I was saying with Vader, with a show like that, especially coming off of Clone Wars, and kind of probably not being on the best like footing as far as Star Wars shows go, because Clone Wars was canceled and that probably didn't make a lot of people very happy. And this, the animation style and kind of the storytelling wise, it makes it seem like Rebels was kind of targeted at a younger audience, even though it's got some of the most like mature themes in Star Wars. But just the way that it's presented, I think bringing some like familiar characters in, especially during the rebellion time period, is smart. So I liked that. And then they go to a temple. That's like the end of the first season, isn't it? Or is
Towards
that
the
second?
end. Or
Is that season 2?
It's the mid half of season
So-
1 is the temple. I
Yeah,
was gonna
it's
bring
like
up as my
season.
favorite episode.
It's episode 10.
Yeah.
The one, yes,
Path
the
of Jedi.
episode where they go to the temple the first time, and they both speak to Yoda, or one of them speaks to Yoda.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a while since I've watched those episodes, but yes, that one stuck out to me a lot too. I think that pushed Ezra closer to the Force, because I think before that it was just kind of like, cool, I'm a Jedi now. But it kind of gave him a deeper connection to like what it really meant.
That episode for me is my favorite for season 1, just because 1, it's written by my favorite like animated writer, and for any animated series, Greg Weisman. 2, the vision sequence of like Ezra going into the cave and like seeing the entire ghost crew just die. You're just like, what the hell?
Yep.
Oh my
Yeah.
god! It's like, because the biggest complaint with like Rebels for the longest time was, oh, it's not as violent as Clone Wars. Like Clone Wars gets more great. No, that episode gets dark real quick.
I never got that. I never once got that it wasn't as violent. Like, literally in episode 2, we see Callus kick down a stormtrooper because he asked him if he's like, is that a Jedi? And the Callus is like, screw you, and he kicks him down. You're like, what the heck? And people are like, it's not as violent. Like, it's pretty dang violent. Scholar, same question to you. What moment and what episode stood out to you?
Scholar,
Scholar.
see there.
Is he... Uh-oh.
Looks frozen on my end.
He looks.
Yeah.
He doesn't look further than mine.
Scholar, if you just want to if you can hear us, just disconnect, and then rejoin. I think that'll help probably. But in the meantime, Hereth, same question to you. What are your favorite episodes? I know you kind of went over it already.
So if I couldn't pick the episode 10, the episode where Ezra and Kanan go into the Lothal Temple, I would have to go with the. I know this is a stereotypical episode, but I kind of like lump these 3 episodes together as kind of one arc, because like, yes, Clone Wars is arc based, but I also count Rebels sort of arc based, because like there are episodes you can kind of just lump together as like a movie. The 3 episodes of Rebels from I believe it's season 1, episode 14 to 16, which is kind of like the finale, is the episode. It's the episodes where it's Kanan gets kidnapped and the Rebels goes rescue him. The season 1 finale 3 episodes are my favorite. If I can pick the temple episode.
Yeah, the season 1 finale is really good. I would say that's probably my least favorite finale is season 3.
Yeah.
And then this would probably be 3rd favorite, but still really, really good. And then the line that the Inquisitor says, as he's dying, let me find that real quick, is really good. It's like some things are more feared than death. Is that it?
Yeah. Some things are more frightening than death. Also, your mic's a robot again.
Oh.
I wish we would have gotten to see a little more from the Grand Inquisitor, because I thought his character was really interesting, and like the Inquisitors both like equally interest me as also terrify me. Like they're just such an interesting concept, and it's weird to think that they've never actually been introduced in any of the like big live action things. They're all like other media, from comics to the animated shows and the video games, because they're so like it's just such an interesting concept that like we think about, what Jedi survived Order 66, and then it's like, like there are Jedi that were also either decided to like willingly help the Empire.
"2017."
Yes.
Oh, it's
Brooke. Yeah, that's so cool. Like the introduction of the Inquisitors are awesome.
Yeah. I also again highlighting quotes and lines, as I love when Ezra quote unquote fake dies and the Inquisitor like taunts him with like Ezra dying and he's like he goes now you have everything to fear, and Kanan grabs Ezra's and goes now I have nothing to fear, and he activates both of them and starts running at him. I'm like oh shit.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite
Love
like
that.
Kanan moments. One
Love
of my favorite
that.
like Kanan.
Yeah.
You have an echo.
Yeah. That whole fight
an
is
echo in
sick.
here?
It's like the first.
Is there an echo in here?
Oh no, there is Scholar. Oh no, there is Scholar. Is there still?
I know. I just
Nope, we're good. Okay. Scholar. Nope, we're good.
No, I just-
Okay. Oh wait.
No, there's still an echo.
There is.
Ah.
Still.
There's still an echo.
No. Sorry, everyone. Watch just a few technical difficulties.
I'll just mute him until you say that it's gone. Because I can mute him audio wise because I have an output capture on OBS, so I can do that. That's an easy solve.
It's still echoing. Okay. Yeah, we'll just mute him while he's not talking. But
Yeah.
I think one episode that really stands out in season 1 to me is Empire Day, because we learn a lot about Ezra and that he's born on the Purge Day, which I think is the day that the Empire was instated, and we learn about like a lot of Ezra's backstory, about how he, like more about his parents, and we have to get his friend. I forget what species that is.
Is it the
Rodian?
Nemodian? Yeah, the Nemodian.
Yeah, the Rodian.
Rodian.
So we have to like go back to his home, and we're learning about like his old friends and stuff, and have to get back the Rodian. I really like that. I think that's like a highlight to season 1, just because learn a lot about Ezra, and then, of course the finale is amazing. Also, when they something that's like to note is that in season 1, they just kind of send Ezra out as like their what's the word? Like their lab rat almost. Like he does all the dirty work. He's the one that goes into the Imperial Academy to steal the thing from Callus. He's the one that they're just sending everywhere, and I think that's really funny. Just
I was gonna say that I'm looking at the episode list now. That is only the 6th episode, so as much as they're like making him kind of their guinea pig, that also kind of shows that they trust him that fast to like carry out their missions, which is kind of cool. I just love their everyone's relationship with each other, and you can really start to see the foundation laid in the first couple episodes of how their relationship, like how Ezra's like individual relationships are going to be with all of the characters. Like him and Zeb have this back and forth kind of like older brother, little brother thing. Chopper is Chopper. Hera's still kind of like the matriarch of the group. He's like infatuated with Sabine. I wouldn't say in love, because their relationship, I feel like their relationship grows more into a sibling thing. I don't get a lot of romantic vibes from them later on. It was always one-sided, at least with Ezra. But we see like that relationship carry into the rest of the show, which is cool.
Yeah. In season 1, he's definitely trying to get Sabine, I think. Shows like a few scenes where he, like one in particular, he like rolls up and his arms like on the wall. He's trying to act like a cool guy. Yeah, he's like, "Hey Sabine, how you doing?" And you're like, "Oh,
yeah."
Ezra, you're not the smoothest dude. But Scholar, same question to you. What are your favorite episodes and moments of season 1? Scholar. Oh no. Scholar. Okay. Oof. Crap. Scholar internet is not. I don't know if it's because the long connection, since it's like around the world, but it usually works fine.
Because I'm going in his audio settings in the control room, and I'm getting his input, but I'm not getting his output. Like I can get his mic settings, but I can't get his output settings for whatever reason. But
that's interesting.
So
yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, you're good. So technical issues aside, I guess we can move forward to season 2 overall. And with season 2, obviously we have the season 1 finale with the rebel cells beginning to come formation together, and like we get that coming and all that formation together, and the Hera begins to start letting the Ghost Crew more and more on her missions, and obviously we get the introduction of Fulcrum. So I gotta ask about, what are your thoughts on like Hera's little side missions with each little character as she goes on to Fulcrum? And since Scholar's still having issues, I'll go to you, Brooke.
I am trying to remember when I watched Rebels the first time, how much of it I had known ahead of time and how much I didn't know. I knew Ahsoka was in it. I don't remember if I feel like I knew that she was already in the rebellion. I don't know if I knew that she was Fulcrum, but I think they kind of laid it out pretty cool, like pretty suspensefully, I guess, of Hera kind of being her own, doing these side missions, like not necessarily telling them what the missions are, how she's getting the information, which I think is kind of interesting. And I think that's to put a little bit of a rift between Hera and not necessarily all of the group. I think Kanan is like Hera. He's like very like, she's my equal and she can do whatever she wants kind of thing. But I feel like Ezra is like, why can't we know about this? And it starts to put a little bit of tension within the group. Which it makes sense why he would be upset, but it also makes sense why Hera hadn't said anything, because she didn't want to reveal that information that the Empire could potentially get a hold of.
Yeah.
But I like that it was
Yeah.
kind of like a gradual. I like that the show, as much as it is about these characters, we see kind of like the gradual growth of the rebellion overall. Because when they started season 1, they were just like a group of people that were just good people that wanted to help those that were affected the most by the Empire, bringing food and whatnot, but also selling ammunitions or stealing ammunitions to sell because you still gotta make money somehow. And then it slowly turns into something greater than just themselves. I thought it was a really nice progression throughout the show and throughout this season in particular.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely. And like one thing that's interesting about season 2, because season 1's really focused, I think, on Kanan and Ezra's relationship. We go into season 2, and it's a lot of we're gonna start building on Hera's point of view and her character. We're gonna start building on Zeb's character with his little arc with Callus. So it's kind of the first we get to see that, and we get to explore the Ghost crew and like all of the characters, and not just those archetypes that we kind of learned of them in season 1. Eric, do you have any thoughts on that? Wait, is Scholar working?
Scholar's working. Guys, Scholar, can you hear us at all?
Hello.
Oh, you can hear. Oh my God, he's
Hey.
alive.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yay!
He lives. Mall style.
I don't know if it's the distance or if it's the software, but it's making it very difficult. I just want to talk Rapples.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. Did you hear the question?
Was it season 2 thoughts?
Yeah, it was.
Yep.
Roughly?
Yep.
Because we're talking about Hera and Fulcrum and like the little side missions she goes on throughout season 2.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say. That's already been said. I guess with
You're all
Callus,
good.
it's obviously he was kind of the Saturday. He was the Saturday morning cartoon villain in season 1. Like he was just there for like just to be the villain. Kicking a stormtrooper off a high platform.
Yeah.
He actually has a pretty good redemption arc on in the season 3 and 4. He's actually not just the standard Callus Imperial, but that was a really bad joke. But yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. Hereth, do you have any thoughts on?
Again, like I said, each season kind of just focuses on like a set of characters. Season 1's Kanan and Ezra. Season 2, I would say, is Hera and Zeb. Yeah, Hera and Zeb are the two focuses of season 2. So yeah, and I like how they do that in a way so because like when you have this like group of characters, characters just tend to get to the backseat. It just happens. Like people complain about that with Bad Batch, with Echo and Tech, but it happens. It's a series of the group of characters. It's gonna happen at some point. So I thought Rebels did a really good job of like rotation of character arcs, making it work. Because I think Filoni had a really good balance of what was going on through season 2, and I feel like Hera was at her best during season 2 with these Fulcrum missions, and I feel like it's gonna come into play back again with Andor. We'll probably get like an episode where Hera shows up, and we'll figure out what's going on there. So
That'd be really cool.
Yeah, I hope so.
So
We could get a live action Hera in what would it would be in the New Republic. Oh my gosh, why am I forgetting?
The Reign of the Empire.
No, the oh my gosh.
Oh, Rangers of the New Republic?
Rangers of the New
Rangers of
Republic.
the New Republic, yeah. Yeah. if we-
I sure hope so. I think that would be
would.
really cool to see what she's up to at that point.
And maybe Jason too.
Yeah.
But who knows what Jason was doing? at that time. I think we also first see Rex and the crew for the first time there, which are some cool episodes, especially whenever it's like I think the episode, I think it's in season 2 and maybe in season 3. It's called like the final battle, and it's when they go and raid the the remains of the separatist
Oh, yeah.
base.
I think that's
like
season,
a really cool episode.
I think that's season 3.
It's
Yeah.
season 3.
I love
Okay.
the characters. I love the characters from Clone Wars that they brought back. I thought that they were all like perfect fits for the show, especially like Ahsoka. Especially, I'm glad that we like know what she was up to during this time. Plus, I'm sure we can spend a lot of time talking about Twilight of the Apprentice, but the bringing back Rex too, I thought was great because and then bringing him back from Rebel into Bad Batch was cool too. I love that we find out that like him and a couple of clones survived, and I do really love that episode where they go and there's all the separatist droids and he gets to be like Captain Rex one more time is great.
Yeah,
it's like a family reunion.
Yeah, since it's season 3, I also love how that episode, season 3, did really highlight like Rex's like PTSD, because like when he wakes up, he's like, Cody, where is he? And like he has that like moment of like where he's like back on the Clone Wars, and when he sees Kanan, he kind of gets out of it. But that's one of my favorite moments in Rebels. Like, it's one of the few moments where like you just feel like the weight of everything, and you're just like, wow. And I love
it's very human.
Yeah, I also love the line when Rex is going through and Ezra's like, "What is Rex's deal?" And like Kanan like puts his hand on his shoulder and he's like he needs to finish this battle to like end the Clone Wars for him mentally. It's like, oh.
Well, also talking Rex and Kanan, there is so much tension there. Because whenever Ahsoka's like she like sends them to go meet them, he's like, they're freaking clones. And it's more Kanan, I would say, is like on edge and about to punch Rex in the face.
Right.
Because some major PTSD vibes for Kanan there.
Yeah, I mean, makes sense based on what he dealt with the clones during Order 66.
Yeah. And he doesn't know that anything about these, that they got their chips removed and everything, but it's just like it's just sad to see.
Yeah.
Also in season 2, before we talk about Twilight of the Apprentice, we have the episodes where we meet a little bit of Hera's parents and we also, like we were saying earlier, one nice thing that they did with Rebels, because we got that familiarity with the Clone Wars of the characters that we already knew, we were doing it with, like in Lando in season 1, they're bringing back characters from the OT. They brought back Leia in episode 12 of season 2, which again, it just kind of makes it feel homey, and those cameos are everywhere. I don't know, I really liked it.
Yeah.
And then let's just do an open floor Twilight of the Apprentice. Because there's so much stuff to cover there. Can we hear Scholar yet?
Scholar live. That's the most
Can
important
you hear
thing.
me?
Oh, I can hear him.
Okay, there we go. All right, Scholar.
It is delayed, like by like 5 seconds.
Okay, you're all good. Just kind of open floor if you want to just start us out, Scholar, about
I'll do my
Twilight of
best.
the Apprentice.
So, this is obviously, I think, for most people, one of the absolute highlights of the entire show. Seeing Ahsoka and Vader, or what is ever left of Anakin, get some closure. The absolute tragedy that Ahsoka cannot ever, or she can't bring back Anakin. It's just not her role. And then it's one of those, it's like Revenge of the Sith. You always hope it goes a different way. You always hope Anakin just stays in the council chamber, doesn't leave. You always hope that Ahsoka can pull back Vader in time. But you see Kanan losing his eyesight, which is huge implications, and then whenever you go to season 4, obviously with Jedi Knight, it's just heartbreaking whenever he finally gets his vision back. And he learns it's pivotal to his spiritual journey. It's pivotal to his spiritual journey. It's arguably what makes him, I think, one of the best Jedi, because he learns really to connect to his surroundings, to be in the moment through that. And talking of Kanan's blindness, obviously this was Maul's big return. He goes from being crime boss to lurking in the shadows of this absolutely dead place. And we still don't know how he gets there, but hopefully one day we find out. But overall, it's just easily 2 of the best episodes, if not the 2 best episodes in the show.
Yeah. Personally, they're my favorite episodes in everything. I think they're just like, it's just so good. There's such like, just feels like just amazing Star Wars. And like the hate on it not being violent, in a 5-minute time period, we get Kanan getting blinded, 2 or 3 Inquisitors getting just murdered, and then Ahsoka fighting Vader. Like, how is this not violent enough for you? I don't get it. Brooke, do you have any thoughts?
I really like these episodes. I wouldn't actually say that they're my favorites. I think they're like top tier Star Wars though. I feel like this is the moment if you're not sure about Rebels, if you can make it through to these episodes, this is the moment you're like, oh shit, this is a lot more than I thought it was, and now I want more of it. So I thought that they were probably genius for putting this storyline in there. I love about Star Wars is that everything is very episodic, so you don't have to tell. Star Wars is great at telling things in a non-linear, non-chronological like fashion. So we saw Maul in The Phantom Menace, then we see him come back in the Clone Wars, and then we see him in Rebels, and he's like this shell of a man that we used to know. And then it was kind of cool going back to season 7 of Clone Wars and seeing that he survived through Order 66 and that made it out. Seeing him in Solo. I feel like Solo came... Solo and season 2, I think, came out around similar time frame. Maybe a year or something apart. But in either case, you kind of like just drop into different parts of Star Wars, which I really appreciate. I really enjoy that storytelling. So it's cool to just go from like this badass Sith, this badass dark side user of seeing Maul, and then seeing him this like broken old man. That was kind of a highlight for me. And then him tempting Ezra and like being like, oh no, I can help you, like don't worry, like we can do this together, blah blah blah. He's just such a complex character, much more than he was ever, I think, intended to be. And then I love, of course, Ahsoka versus Vader, but I think what I like even more is before that, when I don't think it was the same episode, but it was like episodes leading up to Twilight of the Apprentice, where they're on like opposite ships, but they can still feel each other through the Force. And she hears Darth Vader say like, the apprentice lives or something, and she like flips her shit. That is like one of my favorite moments in the show, just because of like the weight of that. And Ahsoka isn't really like, she doesn't know what's going on because she doesn't know that Anakin is still alive. She has tried to reach out. If you've read the Ahsoka book, you know that she's tried tons of times. She never really lost her connection to the Force, but she tried so much to reach out to other people in the Force and just like came up empty. Like no one would ever respond. So it was just so heartbreaking to have her find out what had like happened to Anakin, especially now then going back to Clone Wars season 7 of getting those like nuggets of information that like, oh, Skywalker and Palpatine, like I don't understand, like learning from Maul that was the case, but then not believing it because she just had that much faith in her master, and it's just so emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the classic, I am no Jedi.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, and you want to talk about anime? Vader standing on top of his TIE fighter, descending into the temple on Malachor. What? That is anime as crap.
Vader is literally the most dramatic person.
I love it so much. Yeah.
Yes. Like, that's so Anakin. Oh, and like the fact that we get Anakin for 2 seconds. Because like I think in the Ahsoka, so when he goes Ahsoka, it's James Earl Jones, whoever plays Anakin in Clone Wars,
Matt
I
Lanter.
forget his name.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Matt Lanter and Hayden Christensen. I think they combined all 3 voices, correct? That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
That it's like a mesh between all of them, and it hits so unbelievably hard. And we also see the goodbye of Ezra's lightsaber, the first one, which
Staple gun.
I think that's a yes. I think that's a kind of big part in Ezra's character development. Or kind of symbolizes that Ezra's going through a lot of character development, because I think that saber kind of represents him being childish. I guess you could say childish and rambunctious in a way, that like, oh, his lightsaber is a gun and a saber.
Mm-hmm.
But then as that gets destroyed, he gets more of like a normal lightsaber, and that's like when his character starts to be more serious, and we see a huge jump from Ezra from season 2 to season 3. Like, I remember watching like the first episode of season 3, and you're like, holy crap, Ezra's a beast now from last season, where he's just like a little kid. And I think his first lightsaber again, really symbolizes that. I love Ezra.
I feel like for the most part we hit Twilight of the Apprentice. We hit basically just everything if you think about it. There's one thing I do want to touch on before we move on to season 3 with Twilight of the Apprentice, because this part always gets me. I've said this a lot in Discord servers, and people are like, what? Why? Out of everything Dave Filoni has worked on, like Siege of Mandalore, Mandalorian season 2, just like finales wise, Twilight of the Apprentice is by far none my favorite. Just the ending sequence. It is. I was saying ending sequence wise.
It is. Okay.
Of like, it just always hits me of like Ezra looking at Rex, and obviously Rex doesn't know, but like Ezra looking at Rex thinking Ahsoka's dead. Everything just like that whole ending sequence always gets me. And like Ezra opening the like the holocron, not knowing what's gonna happen next, is just one of my favorite cliffhangers in all of Star Wars.
Yeah. And do we not see Ahsoka walk away?
We do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You
It's very ambiguous,
that was
though.
one thing. Yes. And that was one thing, like, watching it. Because so me and my one friend, Clayton, who may be watching, we were watching it the first time with each other. And when we got to season 4, I was like, didn't we see her walk away? And he was like, no. I was like, yes, we did. I'm like, I'm not, is this like a placebo or something? Because like, I could have sworn we watched Ahsoka walk away. But yeah, that ending montage is like, it hits hard. And then the introduction to Maul, which Maul's just like the big, he's just like the weird, I guess you could say the weird uncle. Like just constantly trying to like get Ezra to do things. You're like, stop, Maul. But that's from season 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I think, like Hereth was saying, if you kind of want to bridge us into season 3,
Yeah.
if you kind of already started it.
So, bridging over into season 3. So, obviously, I would say season 2 we left off with like everything that happened and Kanan getting blinded, and I feel like Kanan gets a huge focus throughout the entirety of season 3 because his entire arc is how do I recover from this and how do I get back to the state I was at. And I feel like this is a good question to ask. Like, what are your thoughts on that whole sequence of him in the Bendu, of him training to get back his I wouldn't say his sight, but like his senses back. Scholar, since you've been I feel like kind of been gapped throughout this entire episode.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if my audio works.
Hey, you're good.
So, Kanan's, like, earlier, okay, good. I kind of said earlier, but like Kanan's journey to kind of adapt to his new circumstances of losing his sight really is what makes him, in my eyes, one of the best Jedi, because it allows him to get a deeper connection to the Force. He learns a lot through the Bendu. We get a lot of cool Force lore stuff because the Bendu's this weird Force creature that's just in the middle. We don't know what that means. That's alluding to the, controversial Grey Jedi kind of thing. But Kanan realizes, like, he doesn't need sight to still. Well, I'm rambling a lot here. He could see better without his sight than he ever could when he had it. Because whenever he lost his sight, he gained better connection to the Force, to the world around him. He could see things better. He could, in a literal sense, like feel the vibrations. He connected to animals, in a sense. Those weird spider things, not quite as well as Ezra can, but still. And then, apart from Kanan, though, Thrawn steals every scene he's in. I can't not mention him.
Yep.
As Hereth would know. Literally until the end of the show, Thrawn steals it. Mads Mikkelsen perfectly portrays him. You can have the argument about the portrayal compared to the books, but I think it's fair enough. But still, season 3 is when the show gets, like, season 2 is spicy, but season 3 is extra spicy. It only gets spicier.
Yeah. Yeah, season 2 is definitely spicy, but then season 3 is when, because I think, well, like Twilight of the Apprentice, I think just like makes season 2 so good, but season 3 I think is where we really start getting deep into the actual plot of the story. Brooke, if you want to go.
Yes. So I have been watching the Marvel Netflix shows, and Kanan is just my space Daredevil now. They have, I mean, not they. I don't know. I feel like they kind of have a similar kind of character. We didn't get to see as much. Like we did see in like season 3 of Daredevil. We see kind of like a comeback story of Murdoch, and it just kind of reminds me of when I watched Rebels with that whole Kanan arc. And I didn't realize the first time around how much time had passed between seasons 2 and 3. It was a good, like, couple months at least. So Kanan had kind of been sulking, which is, it kind of follows the normal, like, oh, superhero loses his powers, or he gives up, or something really bad happens to him, and then he becomes like a depressed guy who doesn't want to like leave his dark room. It follows that same kind of trope, but I think it was really good for Kanan's character, because he had, grown up through the Clone Wars, but I think at that point he was still kind of too young to really experience a lot of the actual like parts of battle, as far as I know. But he still did go through like a lot of traumatic events, growing up without anyone, dealing with Order 66. But I think this was literally his true trials. Does he get knighted before or after this?
Before.
I think
it's in season 2.
It's in season 2.
Yeah, it's the
Mhm.
it's the episode where Ezra goes back to the Lothal cave. Ezra,
Yes,
Ahsoka, and
okay.
Kanan.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I really like those episodes too, but I think more so than that, I think this is truly like his big test. Maybe even I would say his test to become a Jedi Master of sorts, which is kind of fast tracked because he was just knighted, but it was really kind of his own thing, and it was like the Force that made that all happen. So I don't know. I feel like he became a lot more mature of a character, but he never lost his sense of humor. He never lost his kind of like goofiness about him or his, quick wit and sarcasm. But it's he just kind of grew into like a more like a wiser Jedi from the whole experience. And he really didn't let it kind of defeat him for too long. I think with any traumatic experience, we should allow people some time to grieve or deal with it in their own way. But luckily, he was able to get a little bit of a push in the right direction because it was just going on for too long. That makes sense. But no, I like that whole focus on his character. I think it was super important to do that because I feel like Ezra and him, their relationship in season 1 was really good, but I love that they also grew their characters outside of each other as well.
Yeah, definitely. Because though he loses his sight, he connects so much more with the Force in this season than any other season. Hereth, if you have anything, do you have anything else to touch on that?
I really like Brooke's parallel to Daredevil season 3, which I feel like it's a very accurate parallel. But I actually do have something interesting to talk about. So I love how when Kanan first gets introduced to the Bendu, he kind of like uses his lightsaber as kind of like a crutch to like defend the spiders. And I love how the Bendu grabs the lightsaber, just like kind of breaks it. And it's just like you gotta use your Force ability to kind of tame him. And I love how like Kanan gets like pushed to this very vulnerable state of like he's getting like pushed to his pretty much like his breaking point limits just to get his senses back. And that's one of my favorite moments with Kanan and the Bendu is that scene. Is like him getting pushed to the vulnerable state.
Yeah, definitely. We see a lot with Kanan, and then with last. So with season 2, we see a lot with Hera and we see a lot with Zeb. And then finally, after 3 seasons, we learn more about Sabine and we learn more about her upbringing with everything on Mandalore. So, Scholar, if you want to talk first about just your thoughts on Sabine's, I guess you could say it would be like a little arc in season 3 with everything in Mandalore.
So yeah, this is where Sabine really gets to finally shine, because seasons 1 and 2 she's really just kind of their demolitions expert, but we get the explanation why, because she's completely ashamed of her past. She doesn't know what her identity is. She doesn't know where she fits in. She feels like she's completely betrayed her culture, her people, and she's never really fully reconciled with that. And through Trials of Darksaber, probably one of the best episodes of season 3, she finally admits it to herself. Her and Kanan get a new dynamic to their relationship, because I feel like they'd always been there, but they never really had they never really got a proper connection like that. I think you said earlier, we see Kanan kind of develop through as well his teaching methods, because while he's always learning from Ezra, he learned this time through Sabine as well. And we kind of see Sabine develop into the leader that her people need at that point to kind of break away from the grip of the Empire, but it kind of plays into season 4, the beginning 2 episodes.
Yeah, for sure. Brooke, same thing to you.
Yeah, I like that Sabine got kind of her time to shine in this season as well. Especially the Mandalorians are just so interesting as a group of people that we still don't have a lot of information about them, but we had even less before Rebels, just from what we saw of Clone Wars, because at that point we had only seen pre-Vizsla with the Death Watch, and we had seen Maul take over Mandalore with the Darksaber, because we hadn't seen anything from the Siege of Mandalore in season 7 that hadn't released yet, obviously. So I think it was good to get more information out of that and how their kind of family dynamics work. I thought it was cool bringing in Sabine's family, like her personal family. I know that we don't see them until season 4. Is it the end of season 3? I'm trying to remember when we actually see her.
We see them in the we see them in the opener of season 4.
Yes.
I don't think we do see them in season 3.
We do.
Okay.
I thought we do.
But,
I thought we see. I swear we see.
Or a bit, yeah.
We see Ursa and her brother. We don't see her father in season 3.
Definitely see Ursa.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, right.
Because they go and then she leaves, right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
then they come back to save her dad or something, and that's in season 4. Okay, trying to think about the time frame. But yes, I thought it was really cool to see the Darksaber again, and to see Sabine dealing with her kind of complicated relationship she has with the Mandalorians now, based on what we find out later, what she did with the Empire, and why she feels so strongly about helping others now, but also not wanting to return home because of how ashamed she is that she helped create this, or basically created this super weapon. So I think it was integral for her character to go through an arc like this, because it kind of, I don't know if it helped her forgive herself, but it definitely pushed her in that direction, or to have more confidence in herself at least, that we hadn't really seen before. So I don't know, I just like this group of episodes. I think they're really cool.
Yeah.
Overall.
Yeah, I agree. And one something that just the scene that really just sums up Sabine's internal conflicts is whenever she has the saber, and it's in the Trials of the Darksaber episode, and Kanan finally lets her, because Kanan doesn't want Sabine training with the Darksaber for whatever reasons. Then he finally lets her get the Darksaber, and she's just she just has a breakdown, and she's like, I left Mandalore to go help my family, and then I helped create something that destroys them. And now she feels broken, and that the scene is so powerful, and it just really, really hits hard, and it gets chills every single time. Yeah. Again, it's awesome that we finally get to see Sabine, what her character is kind of meant to be. Hereth, do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, again, we had an entire podcast episode on this, so I feel like I don't want to spend this too long into a mini discussion, but yeah, Sabine's character arc in season 3 and a bit of the introduction of season 4 is by far one of my favorite character arcs in all of Star Wars. Her just her internal conflict of everything. I've heard her people try to claim that Sabine is one of the more weaker characters in Rebels. She's just hot badass chick. I'm what the did you watch the same show that I did? That's kind of the standpoint I have with that, because her character arc in season 3 is just absolutely incredible in almost every single way, and again, there's not much more I can add to what was already added besides to say it's amazing.
Yeah. Yes, Sabine is she's awesome. I love Sabine. After my right after my first time watching Rebels, Sabine was my favorite character. That's since changed, but yes, Sabine is so awesome.
Yeah.
And then the season finale of season 3, I feel is kind of the weakest. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Whoever wants to go first. Brooke, if you want to go first, since Scholar's been going first for the last few times.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what happened in season.
So it's
3.
0 hour, and then the Bendu saves everyone.
Thrawn kills the Bendu.
Oh, we have twin sons that happens before that too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we didn't even talk about twin sons.
Yeah, I'm like looking at the episode breakdowns, and I was like, "What?" I always forget. I always think that Twin Sons was in season 4, but it is season 3. So we can talk about that, I suppose.
Yeah.
I remember watching this the second time around. I was watching with my partner because he had not watched. He was a Star Wars fan before me, and probably was a bigger Star Wars fan. That's not the case anymore, considering I am on the Star Wars podcast at the moment. But he hadn't. Neither of us had watched the animated shows. I watched before him over the quarantine and stuff. And I was like, we really have to watch these. We have to watch Clone Wars. We have to watch Rebels. We just have to do it. So watching through, I was like ready for this episode. And I was like, I don't, because he knew some stuff about Rebels, but not a lot. So when we got to this episode, I was like, are you watching? Are you watching? Oh my God. Because we go to Tatooine, and we see kind of this buildup of like Maul looking for Obi-Wan, but we don't know that it's Obi-Wan until we get to kind of like this point. So I don't know. I just think that the episode is really cool overall. I think even the stuff with Ezra being like kind of lost in the desert, because he like has such a strong feeling about going to Tatooine because of Maul, but also because of Obi-Wan. I feel like it's interesting because he has a connection to both holocrons. We see him interact with the Jedi holocron with Obi-Wan's message in the first season, and then we see him interacting with the Sith holocron, which kind of strengthens his connection to Maul, almost in like a Harry Potter Voldemort kind of way, which I just think it was cool, kind of like pulling him in different directions. Especially we see a lot of that in the 3rd season overall. We see him kind of battling with those dark side thoughts and things like that. So bringing that to kind of like a climax in this episode was good. And then just all the stuff with Maul and Obi-Wan is just so like beautifully tragic, and I love that we got some sort of ending to Maul's story. I still want to know more. I want to know more about like the Red Dawn.
Oh, Crimson Dawn.
Yep.
Crimson Dawn. I knew it was a red color. Crimson Dawn. Like, I still want to know more about all of that, but closing his story out, dying in the arms of like the one that he was so vengeful against his entire existence, basically. So beautiful, so poetic.
Chef's kiss.
Oh, sorry.
Go.
Also, you sound like a robot. Just giving you a heads up, that's all. But anyway, so I remember when on the first episode of They Fly Now, we were talking about like just why, like, our favorite lightsaber duels in general, and we went into detail about that. And I went on a limb saying Twin Sons by far is my favorite lightsaber battle in all of Star Wars. It's more like a Western draw than anything. It's like it's very quick and swift, and I love it. It's just, again, it's one of my favorite moments in all of Star Wars. It's just that episode in general.
I feel like it kind of subverses expectations too, because of what happened in like Phantom Menace. You're gonna like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be such a great battle, but these men are so much older. Like it kind of parallels Obi-Wan and Vader's fight in A New Hope. They're not the same people that they were when they were younger. So it makes a lot of sense that it would kind of turn out way differently.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And Scholar, your thoughts?
There's not really much else I can say.
Oh no, Scholar, you sound like a robot.
Joe's perspective.
I guess the robot bug is just going around today.
Crap.
There's nothing I can do.
Oh, I feel so bad. Cause dang. Okay. Crap. Maybe try just connecting again. Maybe that would help. I'm not sure. But yeah, the way that Obi-Wan takes, I think he begins off with taking Qui-Gon's stance,
Yeah.
and then he shifts into Obi-Wan's stance, and then I forget the whole sequence, but it's just like it's so
if I remember
deep.
correctly, it's Alec Guinness,
It's
Clone Wars Obi-Wan,
so deep.
if I remember correctly, it's Alec Guinness, Clone Wars Obi-Wan, and then Qui-Gon.
Yeah. All right, Scholar. I think we can hear you now.
But again, that's the order. It's if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Because remember, it's basically a game of chess between the two characters. It's like he does a move, he does a move, he does a move. I do a final move, and then boom.
Yeah, and he baits him into doing the move that killed Qui-Gon, and Obi-Wan catches him tripping.
Yep.
Ah, crap, Scholar. Dang it.
Are you good now, or? Well, rip.
Oh my gosh. I feel so bad.
Because we kept you up till 1 in the morning just for this.
I know. Just for this to happen.
I guess Video Ninja just doesn't like anyone not from America.
Yeah. And at the end of the episode, we also get the Luke cameo, which I think is so beautifully done.
Yeah.
That because we don't need anything. We don't need to see Luke. All we need to do is just hear the Luke.
Yeah.
Luke.
It's just
And it's just like
'cause-
Obi-Wan's doing what he meant to do.
But the weird thing also you gotta remember as well with season 3 is people tend to forget this, but Ezra and Luke are the exact same age at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So it's weird to think like where Ezra's at this point and where Luke's at this point. It's like they're completely different ends of the spectrum.
Since Ezra was born the first day the Empire was instated on Empire Day,
Luke was born also the first day of Empire.
would he be a? Or
I
is he
think they're
born the
like
day
three.
after?
They're like 3
Or,
days
yeah,
apart.
a few days. Okay.
I think
Mhm.
I can't remember what happened first. I think Empire Day happened because that was when Palpatine was like, "Well, the first Empire," or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it's not really clear in Revenge of the Sith, but it was a few days later, like all the stuff that was happening, like with Mustafar, and then after bringing, like that all happened, and then they brought like Padme back to, I don't remember where they were, where she gave birth,
On,
but that was like
It's
the ship, right? But it's
Pulis
on a
Massa. Pulis Massa. It's on a meteor, like a big giant meteor.
Yes. That was like the time period of like when Palpatine was claiming the first Galactic Empire, then Order 66, and all the stuff with Anakin and Obi-Wan, and then Padme giving birth. That was like a 3-day like time period. So
Okay.
yeah, I remember looking it up one time because I saw a TikTok or something that was like, oh yeah, Ezra, Leia, and Luke all have the same birthday. And I was like, oh, they do? And what I could find was that Ezra was born on Empire Day. The twins were born a couple days later.
Oh.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, it's definitely not clear just watching the movie.
And for some reason, like, I mean, if you look at both of their lives at that time, Ezra's like this much ahead of Luke.
Well, Leia's also that much
And
ahead of
still
Luke.
just like,
Yeah.
yeah. Luke's just
Leia looks like a
kind of
full-grown adult. Let's be honest.
Yep. No,
Uh,
yeah, definitely. Also, in the chat, we're not talking much about Thrawn now, but we are doing a full episode on Thrawn. It'll be like episode 20, I think.
it's the
So
season
we're kind
finale
of
for the
saving
season.
that. Yeah, so
I
episode
feel
20.
like-
So we're kind of just saving that.
I feel like it's hard to talk about Thrawn just in the context of Rebels because of the to kind of target audience, they kind of just made him the villain, where his character is
Yeah.
much more than that. But for the sake of the show, he was kind of just seen as like the antagonist. Not that he doesn't have any interesting aspects to him in Rebels, but that's definitely not the most interesting of appearances that he's had. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And most of his arc again is sliced in half because like one half's in Rebels and the other half's in the 3 trilogy books he has. Like it's legit sliced in half.
mm-hmm.
I have not read. Have you read, Brooke? I know Hereth's making his way through.
I have read the first Thrawn, but I have not read the others.
Okay. Yeah, I'm reading Ahsoka, and then I'm going to finish Ahsoka, and I'm gonna read A New Dawn, and then either Master Apprentice or start the Thrawn series. I might start Thrawn. I'm not really sure.
I would
But make 'em away.
read. I would read Master and Apprentice next.
Claudia Gray is always a win.
I would say Thrawn is such a cool character, but his books are a little bit harder to get through. They're a little dense, at least in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And there aren't a lot of.
I've heard.
I loved the Ahsoka book. I'm actually listening to the New Dawn audiobook right now. Master and Apprentice was amazing. So I don't know how many other Star Wars books you've read, but like that's kind of a nice natural progression into the like deeper stuff. So
Mhm.
I would kind of read the popular ones and then go into Thrawn.
Yeah, I've read probably 5 or 6 now,
Okay.
something like that. But just getting into it. But yeah, so I don't know what's going on with Scholar.
Yeah.
He might just have to join for another episode, unfortunately. I
Yeah.
know this happened to Brooke last time. Oh, he's back. And this happened with Brooke last time with the other.
I think it was Eggy if I remember correctly.
No, it was Choco.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And he joined a little bit late, but it's all right. Sorry, Brooke. All right, Scholar, try talking.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear him now. Oh my god.
Yes. Okay. Anything season 3, Scholar? Because we're just about to wrap it up. Go.
Thrawn is cool. Screw Constantine for messing up his plan. Sorry.
I know Kieran's gonna bring that up when we do the Thrawn episode. I just already know it.
It could have gone so well, but no.
Anything else?
No, that's it. That's it.
All right. Hereth, you want to introduce season 4?
Yeah.
I feel like I've been talking a lot.
No, you're good. I'll definitely introduce season 4. So obviously season 4 is very much like the final season. The way they set it up, we have to it's kind of like split into 2 halves. They got like the first half very much the Mandalore stuff and the Lothal stuff, and then the second half is the Death of Kanan and how we're gonna like move on from that. So I was gonna ask, with this happening, we very much see a kind of like a lead shift of who takes over the control of the Ghost Crew. Is we kind of see the shift of Ezra and Sabine are now taking control. Hera and Kanan are more on the backseat. So I was gonna ask, what are your thoughts of Hera? Why I say Hera? Ezra and Sabine taking control of the Ghost Crew. Scholar, since you just returned, I feel like if I asked for
vulnerability, like Ezra learning to trust people and to trust that he shouldn't be scared of losing people again. Sabine coming to terms with her past, what she's done to her people, and understanding that that doesn't make her evil. She still rose up above that, and her and Kanan were kind of just there to guide them along that path to get them to where they needed to be. So it's the time for them to become leaders. And it's also, I think season 4 deals a lot with grief, obviously, in a very upfront way, more than really a lot of other Star Wars media has done. And you see both Ezra and Sabine really deal with, obviously, specifically the death of Kanan, and they take the lessons they learned from him, they live by them, and they live by his example.
Yeah.
If you want to just talk about season 4 and kind of how Ezra and Sabine kind of take over.
Yes. I think it's kind of a natural progression for their characters to mature. Since we've seen them since season 1, you can definitely tell that they've grown up a lot. And I think it's cool that you can see Hera and Kanan putting more trust into them over time as well. Ezra kind of reminds me a little bit of like growing into Return of the Jedi Luke here, and maybe not necessarily as far as saying he's like Jedi Master material, even though he is a lot more mature. I just think that maybe there hasn't been enough time, because there was more time in between like episode 4, 5, and 6 than there is in Rebels. But it still kind of follows that same path as far as his character goes in maturing, which I really liked seeing. I think bringing the Mandalore plot back around and kind of giving that a conclusion was good too. Seeing how some of the Mandalorians decided to actually join in the fight with the rebellion, since historically it seems like Mandalore is kind of really kept mostly to themselves and like fighting, having like inner conflict rather than dealing with the outside world. But because of the Empire and what the Empire did to Mandalore, it makes a lot of sense that eventually they would make their way towards the rebellion. I liked seeing Sabine's family kind of realize right from wrong and deciding not to help the Empire anymore. I know we see a lot of that in season 3, but it carries over into these episodes. And then I like seeing more of the cameos with the rebellion people, like Mon Mothma and Saw Gerrera. I think it's just a natural progression as well to see. Oh my God, it's Saw Gerrera! But
Carter's favorite character.
We're getting closer and closer to, the events of Rogue One and the events of Episode 4, so it only makes sense that we'd kind of move that way.
Yeah. When I was playing Fallen Order, and you can ask Hereth because we were in VC, when I saw Gerrera, I was like, are you kidding me? Why is he...
Can we talk about how he just, like, latches on to the front of the AT-AT?
It's like, hi.
I was like, what's up, guys? I was like, I have it clipped on my Twitch because it was so funny. Because I was so into, like, driving the AT-AT, and I was, like, shooting at shit. I was like, hell yeah, I love blowing shit up. And then you just see this, like, person just, like, attached to the front window, and I was like, oh my God, it's Saw Gerrera!
Is that Saw Gerrera? Sorry, I had to do that audio sound.
Yes.
I was just like, are you kidding me? Why is he here? Why is he here? He doesn't
everywhere.
need to be here. He is everywhere.
He is everywhere.
We just give Saw a book. Just give Saw a book and be done.
So, I feel like this is kind of a good segue to, obviously we talked about Ezra taking control, but I feel like kind of just how like I'll kind of like group these together because I feel like these two questions do go hand in hand like all the rest of the seasons. What favorite moments stood out to you during season 4, and what episodes were your favorite during season 4? Because I feel like these two questions do definitely go hand in hand. Scholar, I guess, if you're there.
Yeah, is the audio fine?
Yeah, your audio's good.
Yep.
Okay, good.
And you're synced up.
So, yeah, the obvious answer, at least for me, is Jedi Knight is probably my favorite episode in the entire series. Just there isn't many moments in Star Wars in general that can basically get me to cry every time thinking Kaden's death. But to be honest, any episode from like episode 9 to the end of the series, they're all amazing. Just the entirety of season 4 stands out because it's such a well-crafted story. All the kind of threads come together in such a satisfying way. It tackles really, really mature subject matter, like I said earlier. No other really part of Star Wars media tackles grief, I think, the way Rebels has, or tried to, and it does in such a healthy way and shows how we can take the best from the people we've lost that still meant something to us, even if there were quarrels and stuff along the way. But yeah, the entirety of season 4 slaps. It's hard to pick an episode. Night is amazing.
Yeah. Same thing to Brooke.
Yes. Well, to go off of the point about how this show handles grief, I would completely agree, at least related to the movies, because we don't see, obviously there's more time to flesh that out in a show, but the thing that always irritated me the most, and the original trilogy is my favorite trilogy, and I love Leia as a character, but it always upset me that she was never given the proper, a proper time to grieve, or at least we never saw that, whereas she was always the one consoling Luke, for Luke just lost Obi-Wan, even though I just lost my entire planet. Luke was the one, who was going against Vader, even though I was just tortured by it, and then, finding out that that Vader is their father. Luke had time to process it, but we didn't see that with Leia. We didn't really see them process that trauma, and then connecting it to the prequels, I would assign Obi-Wan to kind of the same role that Leia fills in that department, because Obi-Wan has lost so much, but we don't see any of his grief. We don't see him deal with any of it, which I'm hoping that the Kenobi show will flesh that out, but the movies just don't do a great job at giving characters breathing room. Whereas I think this show helps with that a lot. The show does that a lot with almost all of the characters. We see Sabine had enough time to kind of process her own trauma and grief and guilt in the first couple episodes, and kind of reconnecting with her family and with her people. And I mean, everyone has kind of in the show has kind of dealt with their own thing. And I would say that the last 5 episodes or whatever, episode from the one before Jedi Knight on, is probably some of the best Star Wars ever. I have not, with the exception of the season finale of The Mandalorian season 2, nothing has made me cry in Star Wars harder than this godforsaken episode than Jedi Knight. Especially because I had things spoiled for me before I watched Rebels. Totally fine. The show's, old enough now that it's just going to happen if you're in a Star Wars community. I knew that Kanan was going to die at some point. However, he dies in episode 9, which is halfway through the season, or 10. still like halfway through the season. I just assumed, oh, it's gonna be like that. He's gonna do something noble at the end of the show, and that's it. Did not know that it was so soon. So when I got to that episode, I was just punched in the gut because I was like, oh, I'll just watch a couple episodes of Rebels and then I'll like go back to work or I'll like go to sleep. Could not do absolutely anything after that. So that was fun, but it's such a good episode and it's such a beautiful ending to his story, and I don't know. I really like it. I obviously would have liked him to have lived, but if they were going to do that, I'm glad that he did it. They did it in a way where he was going out like a true Jedi, and the fact that the Force allowed him to see Hera one more time. All I have to say.
Also, Carter, you sound like a robot.
Kiss.
But that entire episode of Jedi Knight I rewatched recently. It still hits like a truck every single time, no matter how many watchers you go through.
Yep.
It's just
Yep.
like we even made a joke about it. I won't spoil when, but we made a joke about it during Visions when we were watching our reaction for that. I released that episode today. We made a joke about that. I remember because I was editing through that. But dude, oh my god, it's just everything that like leads to that. And the worst part is, yes, Kanan sacrifice destroyed the factory, but like if you really think about it, like from the Empire's perspective, that was really stupid. Like, they didn't really need to do that, because, like, right after Thrawn's like...
Price is an idiot.
Price, like, what are you doing? Like, yeah, you killed a Jedi, but, like, you destroyed my entire factory and everything that we had planned. Now we have to put all this funding...
Price is lucky that Purrgil dealt with, like, Thrawn would have gone.
Yeah.
Price is lucky the Purrgil got Thrawn first.
Yeah. Yep. One of the most heartbreaking things about Kane's death is the episode after that.
Yes.
And they return to the rebel base. And Zeb is like, hey, guys, what's going on? Where's Kanan? You're like...
Dude,
It's awful.
That entire episode hits like a truck, because it's literally... It's just
Chopper holding Hera's hand.
It's just the grief episode.
Oh.
And then Zeb and Sabine going on the journey to go send I forget Thrawn's. Why am I forgetting the name of Thrawn's like little like?
Rook.
Yeah, they go after Rook, and like they like
Rook,
beat,
yeah.
and Zeb almost kills Rook because he's so pissed off, and Sabine has to hold him back.
Oh, but Rook is terrifying. I hate him.
He is terrifying. Rook is a crazy son of a gun. And then they're on out, and then we get like the World Between Worlds, which Ahsoka has the world's hardest day. She fights 2 Inquisitors, Darth Maul, Darth Vader, and Palpatine, all in what would be in her perspective one day. Like, holy crap!
Never thought about it like that before.
And Kanan's death.
So all the people snapped in the MCU, they just fought the battle of Wakanda and just get brought back. It's like, oh, here's another battle. Just go radical, please. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh no. I really do like all the World Between Worlds stuff. I'm like all into Force lore. I love like the non-midichlorian side of the Force, where it's more mystical and like magical is my jam, and the World Between Worlds is just such a cool concept. And I like the visuals that they gave us. The visuals reminded me a lot of Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
Anyone who's played Kingdom Hearts, like at least in the first game, there's lots of kind of like all darkness, and here's like a staircase, and then you get to a magical door, and it's kind of the same vibe. But I just like how that was kind of shown in the visual way, because we don't know, like I like to think about it as like that's what we saw, but that's not necessarily what they were seeing while they were actually in the world between worlds. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah.
I love the deep connection that Lothal has to the Force with the Loth Cats and the Loth Wolf. Like, it gives me like goosebumps.
Yeah. And then like around that same time we see Ezra kind of getting tested. Like I would say like that would be Ezra's night, like getting knighted would be whenever Palpatine is trying to lure him to his parents, and finally Ezra's like, no, my parents are gone. This like, no, this isn't real. My parent, and he almost doesn't. But I would say that's like Ezra's his trials.
Yeah.
Just because like finally he kind of like makes that jump, and he's mature enough to realize that my parents aren't gonna come back and that Palpatine's lying.
Yeah.
It just it's
Yeah, when it comes to that, kind of going to Palpatine's respect, like they always like if you pay attention to Star Wars, Palpatine's always just portrayed as like this devilish figure. That episode in particular really highlights how Palpatine is literally just the devil. He is just the devil in an episode. He's like Ezra, you could go there and your parents will be all right. And it's just like it's just everything he does there. It's like, oh my god. And like I love how he shows up in like his like Revenge of the Sith, like what he would look like if he didn't get his face shocked. And like right as Ezra figures out what's going on, like he flickers back into Palpatine. It's just just the Palpatine bits in season 4. Also, if I'm gonna highlight Palpatine, I gotta also say, can we just like talk about how Palpatine says Ezra and Ahsoka? It's just it's just like god tier pronunciation. Ezra Bridger and Ahsoka Tano. It's
so maniacal, like unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like it's just really, I don't know, it's a hard, like season 4 is so good, but it's like it hurts so good.
Yeah, you feel empty at the end, like just pure emptiness.
Yep. Yeah.
I think that, I mean, Rebels had a happier ending than Clone Wars.
Oh, 100%.
In the end. I felt much emptier watching Clone Wars Season 7, but it's still, I think Rebels takes you through more of a roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah, because I feel like in Clone Wars, like if we didn't know that Anakin was Vader, which obviously everyone does know, if you didn't know, then I think Clone Wars Season 7, like from that perspective, if you didn't know, would hit a lot harder, and plus you basically lose every character in the series.
I just thought of something interesting on that kind of similar note. I wonder if you showed somebody, if they hadn't, like for example, if you show a kid Star Wars and you start them with 1-2 Clone Wars, but you don't show them Revenge of the Sith, you show them Siege of Mandalore, then you go back to Revenge of the Sith and show what happens from Anakin and Obi-Wan's perspective. Like, how would they view Star Wars? Like, that's a very interesting, like, thought experiment.
Yeah.
That sounds like childhood trauma to me, not gonna lie.
Should try that.
That would be. I feel like you could, and not even a child, because there are some people who are just like know what Star Wars is, but they're so out of the loop that they might not even know like Anakin and Vader are like the same person.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I'll have to find a test subject to run that on.
Yeah.
But yeah, does anyone have any closing thoughts on season 4? If not, then kind of with the end of season 4 and end of Rebels, we're hopefully, which I mean, I think it's basically guaranteed that we're gonna get a closure to everything in Ahsoka. So what are your, well, let's go, like, tell us, like, a little bit about yourself. Who are you? Where can we find you? And who would you live action cast for any of the Ghost crew members Brooke, if you want to go first.
Sure. I hope that we get kind of a Rebels sequel in the Ahsoka series. It seems like that's what they're going towards, since especially knowing that they had a Rebels animated sequel in the works, and then as soon as the Mandalorian was so successful, they kind of scratched it for all of these other live action shows. I feel like there's so much that was left open-ended, despite it having equally a painful and happy kind of ending. They can go in probably a lot of different directions, and even getting the tidbit from the Ahsoka episode of The Mandalorian and the Thrawn name drop, it's like they're gonna have to address you just can't not address what happens to Ezra, even if for some reason they can't find him, or it turns out that he had actually died or something. I don't want it to happen, but I want just any kind of closure to this. I think it's important to Ahsoka's character. It's important to Sabine. I really hope we see Sabine's character in the Ahsoka series. It sounds like they were casting for an Ahsoka-like type character. But yeah, I think it's important to those characters, especially since Ahsoka and Sabine were the two that went to go look for him. And clearly something along the way happened, because Ahsoka is no longer with Sabine and she's still looking for Thrawn, and I don't know. I hope we get some closure to that with that. I'm really excited for it. I feel like it's going to be very world between worldsy, so hopefully we get more lore on all of that. I've never really thought about live action castings for these characters. I like the rumored casting for Ezra. Mina Massoud, who was the live action Aladdin, ironically enough, since we were talking about it. I think he would be a good choice. He's got same age range, and I think he's got the same kind of I don't know, he could do the same kind of personality traits as Ezra. I also like the voice actor for Sabine to play Sabine. Sounds like maybe she's either they didn't ask her or she wasn't interested in doing it, which is kind of disappointing if they're casting for someone. But that's okay. It's they're gonna pick, I guess, the best choice or whatever.
I'm sure.
I'd love to see another live action Chopper.
Yes.
Because we got that little cameo of him in Rogue One. But I would love to see that he's still with Hera, because now that we saw him in Bad Batch, he's been with Hera for literally forever. So I'd love to see if they do eventually put out Rangers of the New Republic, we get some Chopper action in there. But those are, I guess, my closing thoughts. I'm excited for what's to come. You can find me on TikTok at B_Dazzler. And B_Dazzler, but with 2 underscores, basically everywhere else. I have started Twitch streaming. I just became an affiliate. I've been doing a playthrough of Fallen Order. But I plan on also playing through KOTOR, since it will be released on the Switch soon. And maybe some Battlefront. Never played it before in my life, but we're gonna try.
Yes. Are you on Xbox?
PlayStation.
Yeah.
Sorry. But you can find me there if you're interested in getting any cool Star Wars and or Marvel things. You can check out my Etsy shop. It is Far Far Away Factory. I'm going to be doing some really cool holiday stuff, so check it out.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks. And Scholar, same to you.
So, I've never really given much thought onto fan casting for the Ghost Crew. The thing that matters to me, there was the rumor a few months ago about Mads Mikkelsen being cast as Thrawn, and I won't trust it until I see it on screen, but it'd be a dream come true. It'd just be absolutely perfect. And social wise, I don't really have a massive social media presence, but you follow me on Twitch, on Master Euro. I don't stream much, I just stream whenever I feel like it, although I do plan to stream Fallen Order, a playthrough of it soon. Convenient since we were talking about it. Games like Spider-Man, PS4, God of War, stuff like that. Thanks for having me on as well.
Yeah,
of
thanks so
course.
much.
Thanks for coming. Glad we could get the internet thing kind of handled towards the end. But yeah, thank you guys both for coming on. You can find me at, I mean, we say it every week, but
Yeah, it's
you guys
literally
know where to find us.
right here.
Yeah, and it's always right there. So yeah, thanks in the chat. Thanks for joining us, Luke from the Pods One podcast. Be sure to go check them out. Cal Fourier, Aiden Talk Star Wars topics, Malik, Brian with the beard, X-Core Gamer Skills, Kieran. So thank you guys all for joining. We really appreciate it. And we'll be back next week to talk about Luke, correct?
Yeah, we'll be
Hereth?
talking about the story of Luke Skywalker from start to finish.
Yes. So we're trying to make that one a banger episode.
Yeah.
Kind of like, so we had a Rise and Fall of Anakin Skywalker episode, and that one did really well.
Yeah.
So we're kind of hoping the same thing happens for the Luke episode. So we appreciate you guys all for joining us. Rebels is awesome. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Have a good night. May the force be with you. I was gonna say they fly now.
May the force be with you always.